Good afternoon. This is Ken Long from Tortoise Capital. I want to do a sample debriefing of a day in our chat room so you can see what kind of stuff goes on in there and maybe you find it to be of interest. So this is September 3rd, 2015. Early in the morning, people starting to log in. Before the market is open, Clark and Charles are working on some market condition setups and some of their early trading using IWM, the Russell, the VIX, and the S&P, talking about their strategies for entry and then stop and reverse as SAR. P1 means that they've identified pattern 1 in the RLCO framework that they're working. Charles is using quick frog techniques here on EWZ Brazil. He's using a stop and reverse when the regression line crosses the dragon, that's the RLXD, when it has rejected a high of the day. So these are doing some work right from the opening. This one is Mark McDowell, and you can see what he's got going here. Is a ready, fire, aim technique where he observed a swing low. It started to work back up inside this candle, and he gets his entry here near the support level with a stop here. Cashes it when it hits his price target for a quick 3R in the S&P ES. Well done to Mark. And then some commentary back and forth between Ashe, Clark, Charles on some of their techniques. Joey is working on, this is an RLCO framework. He tries a long here. He cuts it short and then stops and reverses here for a long. As the RL10 leaves the river, he gets a nice entry. So he's taking less than an R loss here. He gets an exit here and then re-enters, ends up scratching, and then scratches another one. So he nets out really well on this long trade. So what I like about this is that he's managing his risk carefully, that when there is no follow through like this 1, 2, 3 exit, he's trimming that exit quickly. So well done to Joey. Charles making notes to himself, entries for his trading journal on lessons that he wants to make sure he emphasizes with his daily after action review. Robert Gardner is coming in to give some sage advice as well. Here's an entry and a trade I made this morning. I waited for about an hour before I got in. I had some classroom work to do, so we have the open here. We get an RLCO outside of the river here because of the size of this gap up. This is the VWAP you notice here. This is where you would expect price normally to come back to the Bollinger Band mean and close this gap. It doesn't do that. The RL10 really stays inside the dragon the whole way, and we get the PSAR flips over here and starts to go back up. And so my entry is right here at 25.60 in symbol XIV, the inverse VIX, and using about a 25 or 30 cent stop here just under the VWAP, and it moves out in a measured fashion all the way up here to 26.10. So at this point I'm holding about 1.5 or 2R in hand, and so that's not going to be a problem on this trade. And we've got the gap has been processed here, so now you can see the Bollinger Band pinch. So price at this point is in pretty good shape, riding the dragon who's on the north side of the river. There's the Bollinger Band mean. There's the VWAP. So I do want to preserve this profit here, so I would have a stop right at the bottom of the dragon right here, or I might just take it for a couple R. We got the Z -1, -2, -3 for the Bollinger Bands, and then the 270 regression line acting as long-term fair value. So that's a routine trade in the morning. Failure to fail is information and riding the wave up. Here's one Bill put on this morning. He saw this move. He saw an orderly pullback to the Bollinger Band mean and then down to the south end of the river. finds support for 2 bars, and now he's buying on a 1, 2, 3 entry here with a tight stop. His target is going to be the far side of the river, then the swing high, and then with the opportunity to let's get this a little bit smaller for you so you can see. Sorry. Yep, here we go. So long move up. The dragon is outside the river, then riding the river, then rolls over. Finds support here. 1, 2, 3 entry, tight stop. Initial targets would be the Bollinger Band mean, the middle of the dragon, far side of the river, far side of the floodplain, and then if it breaks out here above about 15.9, then off it's going to go. So well done in oil. Very low risk trade. Here's one I really like from Catherine. Sorry. Okay, here we go. This is in USO. Let me bring this down so we can see it a little better. All right, so Catherine's been and I have been working on her being able to get a second position into trades that are working well. This was a move. It found support at the edge of the river in the Dragon and the RL270, and so she buys the Excursion with a tight stop. Goes to Z plus 2, pulls back. The Dragon holds, the edge of the river holds. She puts a second position on, gets up to about Z 1.5, and then rolls over, and she takes a scratch. She scratches the second entry here and then cashes about 0.56 R here. When we're working on this, we might explore the idea that if it gets out here, if it had gotten past Z plus 2, I'd be looking for a tighter stop, but I have no problems on this one. I like the profit preservation and the fact that if this thing works with 2 scoops on, it's really going to go well. But if it doesn't, the hypothesis is over, and she doesn't even let it get back all the way to the Bollinger Band mean, and that's an excellent profit preservation stop. Very proud of her on that. Well done, Catherine. Some more back and forth. Looking at now, guys are looking at treasuries near the highs of the day, and looking to short IWM out of a Z3 pinch. Charles is getting short on his short on the IWM. He's been able to move to a no lose to remove his risk. You can see Clark here is working the VIX. I won't expand this one. I think you can see it. He goes long, trims it short, gets short, covers, stops in reverse, adds a second position. Awesome. 2 scoops, and it's just starting to move. We're just starting to see the beginning of trending behavior, and this thing is something that can get to 28.40, and on a 20 or 30 cent risk with 2 positions, that would be a massive trade. And then you say continuation on Clark's trade on the VIX, gets 2 scoops and cashes at Z plus 3, where it had no further follow through, up around 27.30. He's able to cash, and price even shortly thereafter it pulled back another 40 cents to 26.90. So really well done. Here is an entry. This is looking like XIV. As it makes the turn, we get an RLCO, and price getting ready to cross through the Dragon. That's a speculative one, but I like this because you've got a tightly defined risk, and if you just get a retest of the swing high, that's going to give you almost 3 to 1. Clark continuing to work VXX very well. Here was his 2 and then 1. Found support, buys. Takes gets his stop in the middle of the Dragon. Not an unreasonable move. There's reasons to believe it could continue from here. We were thinking 28.40, but I like that he got a partial on that one. That looks good. You can see on the that trade Clark made in VIX where he stops here. He can either stop and reverse and then cash and stop and reverse again, or go ahead and take this trade. But this was his stop and reverse trade, then cashed, covered here. Very well done. This is Charles working on his documentation for the day. Done a very nice job here. Let's see if we can shrink this up a little bit, get it all on the screen at once. So he's doing a rolling trade log intraday. He was farming small pieces of art today. I mean, he was playing it pretty close to the vest. Today he gave some back, had some questionable trades in his mind here where he may have been reaching for too much. He's getting concerned that his average, his rolling R average is decreasing over the last 40 trades. It's still positive expectancy. You can see he hasn't given back much in the R's, but this is a warning to himself to really double check his technique and make sure he's still following the rules. He's not chasing it. He's got good performance stats going along. And here you can see his trade sequence plot. And there were no runaway trades for him today, and that's just what the market was. And I like the fact that he's got nothing worse than a 1.0 loss, and he's actually reducing those average losses even further. And so we're in plenty of time here to get reset and get back to basics. So well done to Charles for systematic approach. This is Jeff going to show us some work he's been doing on the RLXD. Let's see if I can bring that rascal up here. All right, so this is Jeff working on a prototype where he's looking. This is a system in mid-development where we are long whenever the RL10 is north of the Dragon. So this is a system that's always in the market, either long or short. And the rules Jeff is working right now, when we look at the RL10 compared to the Dragon, which is this red thing, he's long here until here. It turns short when the 10 comes out of the Dragon. He then gets short and crushes one here that gets short until he covers, and then would stop and reverse. So these are just some work Jeff's been doing on automating his trade framing and order delivery by being able to toggle different of our indicators on and off. And he's a genius with TradeStation. I've asked him to take a look at putting together a trading environment that we might be able to share with folks using TradeStation. He's a real artist and doing a great job. And so let's shift. That was the earlier trades. And that's pretty much the afternoon going into the close, as you can see. Pretty good trades all the way around. The guys they were on the right side of the market in the morning and in the afternoon when the tide shifted. And so feel pretty good about the crosstalk, the trade framing, the discipline, the mentoring and coaching going on back and forth. The collaborative learning environment here is very powerful, and the documentation of trades is the best way that I know to improve your own trading practice by opening your work to others. That takes some courage to do that, and some empathy on the part of the coaches who are helping each other. That I call us coaches, but we're really all just traders trying to work together to give different perspectives on what we see in each other's trading as a way to develop our proficiency. So that's what a day in the chat room looks like. We have a swing chat room as well, and one for closed trades. But these 6 or 7 past years are all searchable. They're all archived. We have thousands of case studies of trades taken and trades marked up. And I really feel good about the learning environment that we're creating here. So that's what a day in the trade chat room at Tortoise Capital looks like. If you're interested, give me an email at longke@yahoo.com, and we'll get it sorted out. Take good care. Keep your wrist measured and your powder dry.